Can't lean against that thing at all.
Oh, come on. That's what I say, 1 to 2,400, you can get airplanes.
Yeah, they do actually have 1 to 3,000 airplanes.
They do?
Yes, they do. Five Star came out with 6 different kits of small ships. This one here is a auxiliary mine layer. They've got, this is an auxiliary minesweeper. They've got, there's 4 more, but I didn't have room in my box to bring them. A couple of them are a little bit bigger than that, but they got those, and they're fairly nice little kits. They're not real big ships, but they're nice. And then, almost done. Last month, these are done really quick. They could be fixed up better. But last month I brought the, oh, and here's some of that stuff if you want to mess with it for the rigging. Oh, and here's some Corsair stuff. But the Big Blue Boy came out with an actual, they usually come out with modern stuff, and they came out with that World War II, whatever it was. It's a gunboat, Chinese gunboat, and that's this one right here. And then one of those Hunt II class destroyer escorts that were given to the Polish, that's this one here. And I put a little bit of rigging on it, and that's its stretchable stuff.
Okay.
And so this is the, that one.
What
And
scale is that? What scale is that?
these are 1 to 700, both of them. That's just a little gunboat, and that's a destroyer escort. The that IBG Models is a new company that's just come out with stuff. That my impressions on the kit, overall it's not bad, but they do a few things that kind of irked me. The little gun turrets, well, the barrels themselves, they come 2 and they're hooked together, and they got screws leading out to the barrels, and the plastic breaks easy. Try cutting them off of that sprue and then rounding it. The barrel's going to break on you, so I just put some metal barrels instead. The overall kit, not too bad. It's, you know, it was, I just kind of threw one together real quick to see what it'd be like. I have 2 different ones. And the little gunboat, my biggest complaint about it, overall it makes for a pretty nice kit. But if you look closely at the deck, the grooves are so damn deep that a guy'd fall, trip in them, and get stuck in one. So I'm wondering if I had to do it over again, I would either try to sand them down or replace them with wood or something like that, because they're just so deep. I mean, you can see the grooves from back here. They're just way too deep.
You have to be very careful, because you see, this is, I brought this Hikowa Maru in because these little masts, they're all the plastic ones, and if you pull down too hard, it'll warp over like a branch. So you have to be careful when you start rigging something like this, is to tie it off in the middle here, and then attach it to one of the masts, and then bring it down like that, and make sure you've got it aligned. I think that was the most, let me get out of some of my stuff here. I can get going on it. You don't mind if I slop one of these things up to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonder if you wanted to
That's
just
okay there.
sit down here and make yourself comfortable.
And this is basically, I mean, these are the 2 things I've been using. I found these at a fishing shop somewhere on County Line Road, where I bought some tile for the kitchen. And it's been so long since I've had this stuff, I can't exactly remember where the store is now. Now, the diameter on this is 5/1000ths of an inch, and I've got one here that's 3/1000ths of an inch. So if you can figure out the scale and get an approximation, you can use, I think, this smaller one for 1/700th, but I haven't yet. So, and
3/1000ths at 1/700 scale, I think that comes out to...
I wrote it down somewhere.
2.1, sorry.
2 inches or something like that. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
2.1 exactly.
Yeah.
And .005 is 3.5 inches. But for 1/700th, that's fine, because the .005 is about 1 3/4, and the .003 is 1 inch. So that's reasonable.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, you see, I've got to get this done. And the other trick in these things is painting these things too, because as you're painting, at least hand painting it, you've got to just slide it across your, and don't go back, because it pulls the paint right off. And then after you're done, you're probably going to have a lot of shiny spots on there still from the original stuff. The surface, you have to wait till it dries and go back over again, and then look at it with a flashlight. And I see here, I can tell that I've been a little messy on this one. Get impatient.
Do you use Tamiya acrylics for that?
Yes, I do. Let me see if I can see what I'm doing here. I brought my other glasses. And I'll just tie a line and show you what I go through in my routine.
Victor, do you want to sit down, or?
Better off
You're
going
busy?
that way, because that way I don't have my back to everybody. I'll use this great big one here. That would be perfect. Let's see here. Well, this will be a little challenging. It's nice. See if I can get it straight.
I noticed that it's a little bit. Even
Yeah,
if
but I
it's
mean,
brass,
that's the point. Plastic can get really, I mean, I've had it also, another thing I have found that is a problem is that over time it shrinks a little bit. So I have done some British ships that have all these kind of tripod masts on them. The tops are real thin, and then over time I see this start to warp back a little bit, so I have to redo it periodically. That's another disadvantage of this stuff, so I'm glad we're hearing about different things. Open. A little dab of glue. This is the usual CA that I use. And
Now, what flavor glue was that? CA?
yeah, this is the stuff that I get at Copars all the time.
Okay.
Battleship that I went, washed it with soapy water, dried it good, primed it, went back to work on it the other day, it just peeling the bead.
Before I ever started building resin ships, I was reading about them. That was frequently mentioned to use oven cleaner,
Okay.
ordinary oven cleaner.
There's one company that makes something that they call resin prep, but they want $5 for a 3-ounce bottle, and I'm thinking, there's gotta be a better way. You know?
And
Yeah.
there's a guy at home pouring oven cleaner in the 3 ounce.
Yeah, probably.
Printing labels.
But I just, it really irked the heck out of me. I went through the process like you're supposed to, and everything, it's just peeling off. I mean, so I'm really scraping all this stuff and swabbing it in.
The paint starts going.
Yeah, just,
It's due to
I've had
oil-
that
it's due
happen
to
too,
oil
yes.
and resin.
Yeah. The mold release.
I understand some of that comes
Mold
from
release.
mold release.
mold release. But the soapy water, and I started looking online, these people, soapy water, well, no, that don't work. You know, I had one that said use simple green. I don't know if you've heard anybody else heard anything.
I asked Hugh one time,
That down to there.
he said that for his kits,
He doesn't use
he
it.
doesn't even use mold release. So I presume David does not as well.
He does.
He does.
I know, because.
You have to.
I do.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten some of those things and they just are slimy.
Yeah, he does.
Anyway,
You know,
to dab the glue on here, after I've tied a knot and run it across this yarn here, I got a hold of a little tiny piece of brass so you don't put too much glue on the subject. Just a little tap over here. Let that set in place for a couple of minutes. And then I usually pull down. And this is where it gets a little tricky because I have to see if I have this far enough yet. usually use a pair of tweezers to avoid bending the mast here. I'll show you what I do. Hopefully I cut this thing long enough where it's not gonna... Not bend down, but you get the general idea. What I'm trying to do here is keep it straight and just get this down there so it holds in place.
So you're just using the tweezers for the weight?
Yeah, the tweezers for the weight, that's all.
Yeah, British is using like a putty.
Yeah, you could use putty too if you want to. Put a piece of putty down there and stick it in there. Yeah.
Or tape, maybe?
Tape even, yes. And then I just,
Oh, so you don't knock the backside?
yeah, exactly. And not only not the backside down, but the problem is these things are, you see how thin it is? It'll warp if you pull it too hard. And this stuff is not. And then I just have to let these things set, and this is the basic idea of how you put these things together. Another thing I do with plastic is because you've got it so bendy that way, I will try to tie both sides of the mast together at the same time. In other words, I'll do the first knot on both sides, bring this back on both sides, and have two tweezers over here to hold it together so that it doesn't go over this way, that way. That is the big trick with these things too.
So do you
And-
go back and paint the plastic parts after that?
Well, I've usually, it depends. I've probably painted the mast before. I notice over here that the masts are orange colored. And so I painted the rigging afterwards. And if I get, you know, if I mess it up a little bit, I can always put some of the other color on there. And then you could do these little things across her, little strip of plastic on each side. And you see where the, what is that, radio,
It's like antenna, right?
Yeah,
And
mhm.
how you do that? A small.
the little, see where the little
Box.
triangles are, you tie those two knots onto the plastic, and then you stick it onto the mast, and then you can just pull this string back, and again, try not to pull it back too far. You tie a knot there, bring it back the same way I've done here. But you have to do it on both sides, otherwise it'll bend over one way or the other.
Have you experimented at all with introducing the natural sag?
I cannot do that with this unless I'm using really thick stuff. I've got really thick fishing line.
Okay.
For example, I've got a Gambier Bay where they've got, looks like some sort of a gas line or something that leads out from the hull and goes down and then bends back up again. You can get that bend with the thicker stuff, but with this it's too flexible. It doesn't hold in place.
Okay, David, have you, with this new stuff, have you experimented with that, with using the new stuff?
What I brought to experiment with the natural sag you're talking about is this tungsten wire,
And so, yeah.
which you can hardly see.
With painting these things,
Yeah.
I just have to run this in a straight line in this direction, not really caring too much about where I miss, because if I go back, I'll tug the paint right off, but eventually you'll run out of paint, so I just lift the brush, remember where I did it last time, and then continue onwards. And just let that dry.
It's amazing, I'm sitting here looking at it against your dark blue shirt.
Yeah,
Where
that's...
it's not painted, and the back where it's painted art.
Yeah.
It just brings it to life.
Uh-huh.
That's crazy.
And of course, you can do a lot of different things with this. If you've got, let's say, on a battleship, or so we got the main mast here. You've got the flag where the flag boxes are. You have to figure out how you're going to bring it down there. Just sometimes I drill little holes in the side of the thing with a very fine drill, or if there's sort of like a photo etch railing or something like that, you can tie it to that. But it becomes difficult with kits like resin because you can't really drill holes through them. So you have to find pieces of photo etch that sort of fit in there and make it look realistic, and then you can loop the thread around it. And you can also, well, of course, there's another thing too. You've got these little cross pieces here. You have the thread goes up that way and down across there. I mean, this is the basic, all there is to it. From then you just fiddle with it and you can, it's really simple. However, the only thing is it's not very bendy and it's very stretchy, so I've had plastic that, as I said before, the British type of ships, for some reason you have those tripod masts and there's a mast that sticks up, you got rigging that goes across the back there, and this stuff will shrink a little bit, so it sort of, over time, if you're not careful, will bend the whole mast. That's my biggest complaint about this stuff.
So, Victor, while you're rolling along there, you want to try some of this stuff on there?
Okay. Let me just rinse this off.
This Lycra rigging is just crazy. I mean, I can just pull it like that and nothing
I
happens.
like it.
right?
I like the way it works.
Yeah.
Kind of neat. Well, that one over here, that little destroyer escort, I put some of it on that, just put a few lines on it.
Let me see how this stuff works. Holy smokes, yeah. And this is stretchy flexible, isn't it?
These would both go together.
Very nice.
This is the,
And where do you get that light from?
I got this from
Hell,
Last Cavalry is the website, but the name of the product is called Rig That Thing. Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
Here's something I didn't notice. I was pulling this,
Uh-huh.
and I thought I was getting it off the reel, and instead I was just tugging on it, and it just started to spin right back in my face.
like that one there, they have some different size.
That would be before I lose it somewhere.
Is it in here?
I'm sorry?
Is it actually in here?
Oh, no, sorry.
I was gonna say, man, that's so.
When you
fine,
get
I
the
can't
package
even
from the
see
store, it has the nice little reel in there.
Oh, okay.
There's quite a bit of it on there.
I'm
on
gonna
that
have
little
to
reel.
use my, if I use this stuff, I'm gonna have to get those loops out that I got from,
Right in there. I used,
wow.
Pretty hard to see.
Yes! Man. It's hard to tie a knot
Is
in
it
this
just
too.
a simple overhand knot you're using?
Yeah, I'm trying to, yeah. It just springs right back on me.
I use some stuff, I think, something similar to this.
I'd obviously have to use a longer piece.
And you just peel it off and
Try not to stretch it.
you can find it. It's so fine.
I can't see what I'm doing. Virtually cannot see what I'm doing.
Well, I think you could do exactly the way you did it with this.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you
see you
tie
tie
a
it
knot
up.
there?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
What did you say what the website was for that?
Last Cavalry?
Last.
Yeah. I can put that on the blog as well.
Okay.
Where did it go? The usual thing of not being able to find anything.
What are you looking for?
My regular tweezers. Oh, they didn't take them out, that's why.
I was looking for those 1 to 3,000. Just put them back in there. No?
Aha.
Yeah, because I waste 149 of it.
I'm losing it.
Let me see if I can get my elbow in the super glue now.
I mean, you don't want to stick around here?
Did anybody see where those?
Oh,
Anybody want to try? Oh, that one, just take a look at them. Oh, that's okay. I just want to.
good God, no. I didn't get a knot here. It just looped over itself.
Wonder if
I
you
would
just,
have to.
wonder if you just
honestly-
put like a little drop of glue
Yeah, I
there
could
and-
put a drop of glue on there and
You
see if
just
it'll
stick.
hang.
Victor, were you a mime in a previous life?
What's that?
Were you a mime in a previous life?
A mime? What makes you say that? Well, I'm fiddling with this string here that you can't see.
Yeah, it's like he's going through these motions and there's nothing in his hands.
Oh, believe me, there. Yeah, I see what
Magic,
you-
young man.
That will never get him on.
These are amphibious.
Just hang, hang. This stuff, yeah, that'll work. If I haven't glued it the wrong way here someplace.
I think you're supposed to do
Make sure.
So is that the tungsten, Dave?
This is the Lycra.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's Lycra.
The stretchy?
It's very stretchy. It has its advantages and disadvantages. I can see them as I'm working with this stuff.
for those.
Will this one melt with the CA?
I'm sorry?
Did it melt with other kind of glue?
Yeah, you probably do it with like Gator Grip or PVA.
Yeah.
Does it handle CA okay?
Yeah.
It does.
When I was using it, put a little bit of CA on the tip of the stuff itself, and it went whoop, it curled like
Oh,
that.
like
It like curled,
melted a little bit or
almost like if you were hitting it with heat or something. But if you put, what I did was one thing in there, I tied a knot and put it on one end, one of the yard arms or something, and then I hit the CA on it. It seemed fine. It didn't seem to bother it.
Yeah.
Then when you pull it over to the other one and touch it like it's doing here, it was fine. Then if
Yeah.
you just try some of it, take it just by itself and put some CA on it, and it's like this, and it goes weird.
Muck that up a little bit on this side. I'm just gonna have to get used to the stretchiness of this stuff, you know? Oh well. A little trimming afterwards to fix that up.
Yeah.
You just have to get used to it.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. I mean, I'm beginning to learn how to manipulate this stuff a bit. Yeah.
Will you use it for 1700 too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see it, I have
They
to
make
clean that
different
up, sure.
thicknesses of it. So yeah, you can get the thickness that's appropriate.
Mis ojos. Yeah, you see, it got all tangled up in the glue over here on that side, but you know, that's something you got to work with, I guess. But this stuff glues on very nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this stuff
Yeah.
takes a while to hang on. You see, oh, it's all right there.
Yeah.
Piece of white paper. Well, you're trying
Yeah,
to see.
that's where you see that.
All right, now I can see.
No, from here it's impossible to
Now
see
you
if
get-
there is the. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, there you can see
Mm-hmm. You see, I got messed up here because it stretched and then sprung back into the glue.
That's incredible. I couldn't see it without putting this in there.
Yes, I know.
1 to 3,000.
That's why we got to get my LED and my loops and all that sort of stuff. It's hard to see here. I mean, I just got my old reading glasses in here.
All I gotta do is like that, you're playing pickup.